Today on the Big 6 in 60, the Vikings signed Kyler Murray.
It's going to be a competition with Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy.
SGA breaks a 60-year-old Wilt Chamberlain record.
Tonight, it was all about SGA. All about SGA.
And Clemson knocks North Carolina out of the ACC tournament.
Now 24-8 on the season. They fall to 5-3 without Caleb Wilson in the lineup.
This is the Big 6 in 60, the 6 biggest national sports stories from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now. Thank you for making the Big 6 in 60 your first listen of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Vikings signed Kyler Murray to a one-year deal Thursday, and he'll now compete for the Minnesota starting job with J.J. McCarthy. Luke Braun gives his thoughts on adding Kyler on Locked On Vikings.
I know that, there's an uncomfortableness with J.J. McCarthy, but apparently, there has to be, right? That's just an uncomfortable situation on its face. But apparently there was a FaceTime call with Kevin O'Connell and Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy where he told them both, you are competing. It's a thing. We were told by Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, O'Connell himself, even Kyler Murray. Everybody has acknowledged that it's going to be a competition with Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. Now, I think most people are going to look at that and say, okay, well, Kyler Murray takes that and run away. And I'm probably not going to have too hot a take on that. But there is, I think, a difference between they're going to have a competition and one side is going to win it super easily, and they're just telling us about a competition, but they're not actually going to have a competition. The latter, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you go through all this PR rigmarole? You could just say, Kyler Murray is our starter. We're just doing that. And get over it, right? And rip that Band-Aid off. But to kind of prolong it and say, we're going to have a competition and it's really going to be a different thing would be such a strange and messy way to go about it. And to save face about J.J. McCarthy, but you're not really saving face. It just makes it look way more embarrassing. So I don't really see that as that good of a PR strategy if that's what they would be trying to do. Rather, I think that they're going into this with an open mind. And it feels like this is a hot take. But I do feel like they're going into Kyler Murray versus J.J. McCarthy with an open mind. We can all predict as much as we want about. We can talk about who is favored in that competition. I would say Kyler Murray would be heavily favored in that competition, but there is still, believe it or not, an unknown with J.J. McCarthy. Despite how much everybody wants to say that they know who he is, that we've got him, it's over, we got it, we get it, it's done, he is who he is. Kid's 23, he's going through his first real off season without a draft or an injury rehab to take his focus off of growing his game. And whatever that shows up to camp with, I think the team sees as a question mark, not a pile of garbage. I think they really are giving that a chance to come in and beat a quarterback that just got benched himself this year. So personally, I am not going to make any grand declarations that they're lying about a quarterback competition or anything like that. I think it really is, that is truly the way. And hey, look, if they were, they wouldn't admit it, right? Because even last year, they would never acknowledge that J.J. McCarthy was the starting quarterback, even though he very clearly was. It's not like Sam Howell was going to take that job, but they just didn't want to talk about it. And I think you're probably going to get a lot of those same answers this time. But hey, let's show up to camp and see who the better QB is. Even if they do have every intention in the world of starting Kyler Murray over J.J. McCarthy. Well, hey, if J.J. takes a big step forward and shows up as a much better quarterback than he was last year, well, then they'd be stupid to stick to their guns that way, and they certainly would be stupid to overcommit to one way or another beforehand. So let's just let this thing play out and may the best man win. That's the way I'm going to approach it. And then again, emotionally, I'm of two minds. For one, I really want J.J. McCarthy to turn out. I want it to work out. I want him to figure out that guy he was in December that kind of pulled some stuff together, figured out how to get that offense to really hum. I want him to find that consistently just because I'm rooting for him. I think that kid has taken an absolute beating in every sense in his reputation and in everything, wins the national championship. Everyone wants to put an asterisk on it, and everyone is carrying that baggage with him and is just ready to punch him in the face at the very first opportunity they got. And then they just kept punching him. And I just feel bad for the kid, you know? Again, he's 23. Like, everybody's acting like his book is so written when we have so many examples in this league that tell us that it isn't. Maybe it is written with the Vikings, and maybe the rest of his book gets written elsewhere, but like, patience is a dead thing, man. So there's a part of me that I want him to work out. And of course this gets way in the way of that. And there's this like emotional part of me that's like, oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. We'll see if he can, you know, maybe come back on another team or, you know, revive his career. And that is conflicted with another part of me that has always thought Kyler Murray's kind of cool. I see the flaws. I understand why he got benched. I understand why Arizona moved on. And I definitely share a lot of concerns based off of that. But like, the guy's kind of cool though. Like, he's fun. So if this is the start of the Kyler Murray era, if 2026 is the Kyler Murray season of the Vikings, you know what? Strap me in. I'm down. Tape my eyelids open like it's a Clockwork Orange. Let's get weird. I'm into it. Sure. I think there is like there's my head, which says, you know, they're probably not making any predeterminations. They're going to go into camp, and whatever plays out in camp will play out in camp. And then, you know, here's what Kyler Murray does, and here's his footwork, and this is where I think he throws to the middle of the field, and then here's what it is to the outside of the numbers. And like, there's the very logical approach that is what I think is going to dictate a lot of what I have to say about Kyler Murray over the next several months before we actually see him play in purple. But then there's my heart, which is conflicted. It's like I'm rooting for both these guys now, you know? Like I want JJ McCarthy to succeed very bad. I understand how behind the curve we are on that, how much of an uphill battle it is on that, but I'm still pulling for it. But then at the same time, like, man, if Kyler Murray just like balls out and has a really cool season, that will be the most fun thing in the world. Because a good Kyler Murray season has these like scramble runaround plays. It's peak Russell Wilson kind of play. And I'm not just saying that because he's short, but also he loves to throw that deep ball. We'll get into it with Alex Clancy in a little bit. And you know, those scramble around drills where he can make these impossible plays will be so much fun. And it's so annoying to play against. It's you know, great way to tucker out defensive linemen and then get a run game going on that. And there's all this stuff that is just good TV, man. It's just good and fun to watch. And it's such a compelling story for a guy that was really on top of the world forever and ever and ever. It's not unlike Sam Darnold's story. It's just a little bit more compressed, where both of those guys were golden boys of golden boys for the longest time. And it's not unlike JJ McCarthy too, who had this almost like ordained path to the NFL from being 15 years old. Everybody looking at him and going, you're the dude. You are going to be the guy no matter what you do. For Kyler Murray, it could have been baseball, right? He was a chess prodigy as a kid. And then it ended up being football. And at all of those things, it was all so lined up and ready to go. And he always had the belief, you know? And then for that to dissolve and decay over time with the Arizona Cardinals and how everything went down there, and now he's kind of finally in this valley. He is no longer propped up as the next big thing. Now you're yesterday's thing, and the next big thing is, you know, 3 draft classes after you. You're done, and you've been done. And for that story to end in, you know, and then he went to a new team and he figured it out and he found his home with his hometown Vikings. You know, he grew up a Vikings fan and all that, talked about how he was a little kid and he cried when Brett Favre threw that interception. For that to be the hometown team, and like, what a great story that would be. I cannot imagine Hard Knocks picking another team. To be honest, I have to think that if they don't pick the Vikings, they're doing something real dumb. Because boy, that is a compelling pair of stories. And as a competition, forgetting the toxicity that I think comes with JJ McCarthy, and it is really a toxicity. Like, you got to admit that the way that people talk about him, whether it's people who are so on his side that they're, you know, just unwilling to admit when a game goes bad, oh no, it was just that, you know, the O-line messed up, or it was that, you know, so-and-so's fault. But then what I think is the louder and larger crowd, which is on the other side, which has to immediately write off everything bad he did, right? He throws a touchdown that was a fluke, or, you know, it was just the receiver bailing him out, or it wasn't even a good play, or he'll never do it again. And there is such a toxicity around him that it makes it really hard to like calm down, back off, turn the temperature down a little bit, and just have a conversation about these two quarterbacks. I think it is a good idea, and I've been preaching this on Locked On Vikings forever. I think it's a good idea to look at a QB competition when it's like this, when the team is insisting, hey, these guys are on a level playing field, may the best man win, and to really say, okay, let's throw out all priors. Let's look at the last 10 games both of these guys played, and which one do we think is going to be the better quarterback? And even though you think you know what answer you're going to come out with, it's still good to like go check on that, right? Check your work and confirm that it is what you think, because if you do confirm, you didn't waste your time. You still get that more conviction, and then if you end up finding something that surprises you when you do that exercise, well, good thing you did it.
College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, conference championship games. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match what you see on the slate. Then you apply that profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style now with more upside. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. For the 127th straight game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored at least 20 points and broke Wilt Chamberlain's NBA all-time record from 1963. He finished with 35, and the Thunder got a 2-point win over the Celtics as well, which means Ryland Stiles has plenty to talk about on Locked On Thunder.
Well, the Thunder did not have J-Dub, did not have Isaiah Hartenstein. Boston, no Tatum, no Derek White. AJ Mitchell got the start tonight for OKC, and so AJ Mitchell has been a bright spot for them. But tonight, it was all about SGA. All about SGA. And the Celtics tried every way they could, as we knew that Missoula would. We knew that Boston was such a talented team. And they are a title contender to the nth degree. And if you listen to this show this week, you everydayers know, I think that Boston and OKC would be, if you had to pick one matchup to be in the NBA Finals, I think that that's the one you bet on right this second. They both look that good. They played that good today. And Boston tried Sam Hauser on him, tried Baylor Scheierman on him, tried Jaylen Brown on him, and yes, even went to my guy Jordan Walsh on him, which I think that they could have stuck with for longer than they did. But nonetheless, it was SGA who was fantastic in this game after a slow offensive start. You saw them, Boston, gapping hard on Shai, sending an extra body to him all the time in this game. And the Thunder were set up nicely by Shai early on, could not hit a three. But then you look at what SGA did on both ends of the fourth, and that was great. But offensively, he made history. Gets off the ball in transition. The Celtics had Quaid at the top of the key waiting for him. Whenever Shai receives the ball there, hits a step back three, and that was the start of his night, start of him really rolling. Then he walked down to the paint and finished over Garza in the lane, rises up and just hangs in the air somehow. I don't even know how this happened. I mean, he was just sitting in the air forever, and not even until the way down did he shoot the basketball and knock it down in the mid-range to where he had a successful first half, 17 points in that opening half before intermission, and ends up getting to 127 straight games of 20 or more points to set a new record, sitting alone, dethroning Wilt Chamberlain, breaking a 63-year-old record. And this was a special moment. Like, again, 17 first half points. This entire night, from start to finish, the only person who could hit a shot for Oklahoma City consistently was Shai. The only person who could jumpstart their offense was Shai. Nobody else really had it tonight. And we'll go through what a wonder it is that they won the game. They won the game because of SGA. But that third quarter, coming out of halftime, you had 17 points already, and everybody could feel it. Like, the energy was just different in the Paycom Center after halftime. Every offensive possession, fans rose to their feet. Everybody pulled their cell phones out to record. Every shot, oohing and eyeing, wondering if this would be it, if this would be history. And then it was. And of course, it happened on a mid-range jumper. Jab step, jab step, jab step, knocks it down, paying homage to Carmelo Anthony, perhaps. Really rare to see him have the ball stick to him like that and think through methodically when he wants to pull up and knock down that mid-range jumper. He got it to go, and he dethrones Wilt, and he sits alone at the top of the NBA record book with 127 straight games of scoring 20 or more points. The Paycom Center went berserk, as you would expect. Look, Shai admitted post-game that he knew he was around 20, but it wasn't until that shot went through that he realized, okay, that was the shot. That was history. And during the timeout, the Thunder honor Shai with a graphic during the timeout and announce it to the arena, who couldn't stop applauding and then broke out into an MVP chant. And Shai breaks a 63-year-old record. And it does make you wonder, like, how long can this streak continue? Because you hear the stories of Wilt's record. I mean, the only thing that broke it was getting ejected about 13 minutes into his 127th game. And, really to put it into perspective, like all-time great scores, you name them. Who do you think the best score ever is? Unless you said Wilt Chamberlain, nobody has came close to 127 straight games of 20 or more points. A record that could stand for another 60-plus years. A record that could stand forever, depending on how much cushion that SGA builds up here. But in general, the reason it could stand forever is you talk Kevin Durant, you talk Steph Curry. Steph Curry, a immaculate scorer, who also did it with the most valuable shot in terms of point value in route to 20 points, the three-point shot. Michael Jordan, Kobe, whoever you think is the very best scorer you've ever seen with your two eyes. They never came close. They never came close to this record. You look at it, and there was a lot of hubbubaloo whenever Kevin got to 70. He was still a country mile away from tying the record. Shai breaks the record and counting. Which is one of the cool displays that Converse, his shoe deal, has put up these projections across the city tonight about, with his logo, with the Converse logo, and with 127 and counting. And it's a testament to his consistency, yes. His talent and production, yes. But it's also just remarkable that this guy, who plays in Oklahoma City, has found a way to avoid what feels inevitable to every athlete in every sport, which is just having one of those nights. It's not your night. And that can happen for a myriad of reasons. Wilt got ejected. You can get ejected. How many times have you seen a player drive to the rim and step on the camera operator on his way down and his night's over? How many times, right, have you seen a player playing a blowout where they're playing great basketball, but they just didn't happen to get to 20 points? How many times have you seen an elite scorer who you know is Hall of Fame good, who you know is legendary, who you know is awesome, and they're taking shots that you want them to take, and the ball's just not bouncing in for them? And you can look no further than this week alone, where you've seen some legends, some all-time greats fail to reach 20 points. Some of them in great games. I mean, Nikola Jokic undoubtedly had a fantastic game on Wednesday. Like, it was an all-elite game on Wednesday. And Denver beats Houston 129-93. But Jokic has 16, 12, and 13. Not 20. Anthony Edwards, who is unequivocally having a great all-time scoring season for him. He is fantastic. But yet, this week, against the Lakers, it wasn't his night. It wasn't his night this week. He had 14 points in that game. Whoever you want to point to, Kevin Durant, like we already went through, whoever you want to point to, like, sometimes it's just not your night. And for Shai to be able to avoid those outcomes, it's remarkable. And the most impressive part is, like tonight, doing it in a win. Being additive to your team, not detracting from them in hopes of getting this record, not detracting from them in hopes of your own stats. But what happened in this game at the very end? Shai hits the shot to go up by 2 with 30 seconds to go in the mid-range, tough bucket, Boston timeout Titanium is blaring. Jaylen Brown hits an even tougher shot over Lou Dort, ties the game back again. And you're thinking, here we go. Shai's going to get the ball. He's going to drain the clock. And he's going to have a chance to hit the Knicks game winner, the Warriors game winner, the Nuggets game winner, and the Celtics game winner to cap off the streak. But instead, he passes to Alex Caruso. Now, why did he do that? Friend of the pod, Tim McMahon of ESPN, asked him, why'd you pass the ball? And Shai discussed the fact that, hey, that's experience. That's reading the game. Because what happened in Miami, what happened against Denver in that the game that eventually went to overtime, the opposing defense going to double off of Caruso late in the clock, and he's going to have a wide open three. Same thing happened in this game. And Shai has the ultimate trust in Caruso and in his teammates. And Caruso has gone 0 for 3 in this sequence we're talking about, including tonight. But to Shai's point, he's hit big-time shots. He's been huge for them. He's been huge for them in winning a championship last year. He's had big moments this year, including in that Denver game to get some revenge for that miss in overtime. So you just read and react, and you take what the defense gives you. The problem is, for opposing matchups, no matter what you show him, yes, he's got the answers to the test, as he would say, but he's just simply unguardable. Like, en route to 20 and en route to what he ends up at tonight, where he turns in 35 points again, you can think of maybe 5 of those points. I might give you 7 of those points where it's like, okay, bad defense by Boston. The rest of his buckets are just good defense, better offense. There's just nothing left for you to do. He's unguardable. He's the definition of unguardable because they're trying their butts off to throw him every look, and yet every night he ends up with 20-plus points on great efficiency. Tonight was no different. 35 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 72% from the floor, 2 for 5 from 3, and 7 for 8 at the free throw line with 40 minutes played and it being a plus 14 tonight. On a night where, again, you're sitting here saying, how did OKC win? Because we're going to go through the rest of this game, and no one else stands for a bright spot in AJ Mitchell had a great offensive night besides Shai. And when you have Shai, when you have number 2, you're going to have a chance to win. And he's going to ensure that, and he ensured the win today. He was stellar in this game. He's made history. He's got the jersey for memorabilia, the game ball. They cut the nets down. This is March, by the way. They cut the nets down after the game. Awesome stuff. And what a luxury to be a part of in OKC. That this market, who's had a professional sports team of the 4 major professional sports since 2008, and you think back on a night like tonight, and you think about all of the history you've gotten to see. History that other NBA franchises who've been around a lot longer would give anything to experience just one of these feats that the Thunder have been able to pull off. It's a spoiled place to be in a good way because people like Shai keep showing up and walking these halls and making history. So credit to Shai. He delivered. He had his moment. He had the team's moment to get this one over Boston and to capitalize on a great result in Denver.
North Carolina has a secure spot in the NCAA tournament, but the Tar Heels got bounced early in the ACC tournament with a quarterfinal loss to Clemson. Isaac Shade recaps that loss on Locked On Tar Heels.
Carolina falls to Clemson in the ACC quarterfinals, 80-79. It was another bad beat in this series, the second in the past 10 days. I'll explain that in just a second because, man, if you had Clemson in this one, I hate it for you. Carolina now 24-8 on the season. They fall to 5-3 without Caleb Wilson in the lineup. At Ken Palm, they actually go up from 31st to 30th. And now we sit and wait for Selection Sunday. And of course, this is going to be a therapy session. Definitely not a party, definitely a therapy session. But, as a good therapist, how about this? I got a silver lining for you. Now you don't have to stay up as late tomorrow. You can go to bed, go on a date. You don't have to stay up till, what is it, 12:20 Eastern, 11:20 my time in Central. You're all good. There's your therapy, free of charge, right? Also, coming up this weekend, starting this weekend, and for each of the next several weekends, I'm going to be back on Amazon Fire TV's Bracket Breakdown, covering all your March Madness needs. It starts Selection Sunday. It'll go through each of those. It'll be myself, my co-host on Locked On College Basketball, Andy Patton. UNC national champion Jesse Hawley will be on the desk with us. Butler Bulldog and NBA All-Star Gordon Hayward will be with us, and Kylan Mills, who's a host for Big Ten Network and a whole bunch of stuff, calls Bulls games sometimes. She's going to be the host of it all. It's going to be great. Tune in. It's on Amazon Fire TVs. Okay, here's what we do on these live postcasts. We're going to unpack this game, every brutal detail of it. Big picture, small picture. We'll get to your comments and questions, and I'm sure there's a lot of fire Hubert Davis and all of that, because every loss has that. And I don't say that as though it shouldn't be considered. I'm just saying it's like par for the course. That's what always comes up immediately. Okay, I said this was a bad beat, a second straight one in the series. Here's why. In the game that was in Chapel Hill last week at the Dean Dome, I forget what it was, the actual line, the final line, but that layup that Dylan Hunter had that he missed right at the end would have covered, but it didn't. And so Carolina covers. So anybody who had Clemson bad beat in this one, I think the line ended at Clemson -1.5 some places, Clemson -2 some places. Well, with 3:30 to go, the Tigers are up 15. And if you got the Tigers, you're feeling pretty good about where you're at. And then Carolina just starts hitting 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. I haven't even gone and counted how many it was yet. We should do that in real time altogether here. But so Carolina gets it to within 1, and then nobody else scores, and that's it. So if you had Clemson, second straight bad beat, I hate it for you. It really was. My wife, Maggie, was sitting on the couch with me as we watched this finish off, and she was like, it's one of those where it's just like, just don't even come back. It's don't get the hopes up, whatever it is. Now, I think there is something to be said for the fight that's in the Tar Heels. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's just talk about the logistics of the end there. Typically, Coach Davis has saved the timeout there. Typically, you want a timeout there on that very last free throw. Clemson misses the first one, and so because of that, they call a timeout to discuss what to do. You either try to make it or you intentionally miss it. It was absolutely the right call by Clemson to purposefully miss that final free throw. Let me explain why. If Clemson makes that free throw, they're up by 2, 81-79. It gives Carolina, who doesn't have a timeout, the opportunity to stop the clock, get out of bounds, and make an entry pass, hopefully, into the front court for a shot at a better shot. However, with Clemson intentionally missing and Carolina not having any timeouts, here's what happens. Is Jaron Stevenson has to get the ball, doesn't really even have time to make a pass, so he's got to take a couple dribbles and launch, and that's all you can do. So Clemson absolutely made the right decision there. That said, I haven't gone back and timed it. I haven't gone back and slow-moed it. I'm almost positive Jaron could have gotten at least one more dribble, maybe 2. But would you or I have done any better in that situation? Absolutely not. But, if we're assessing the situation, Jaron could have taken another dribble or 2. But it's the situation you put yourselves in, and beggars can't be choosers in that moment, right? And so ultimately, it's a great push by Carolina. I mean, crazy stuff, the way they were just knocking down threes, but it's too little too late. It's last year all over again, where Carolina would dig themselves into a massive pit, a massive hole, and then not be able to work all the way back. They'd come back really close and then couldn't make a shot right at the end, or didn't have time to make a shot right at the end, whatever it was. And that's what happened in this one. Just not enough time to get it off to make it happen on that last one. I am curious to see how many threes Carolina made there at the end. So Carolina, again, was down by, what did I say, 15 with 3:30 to go. And in the final 2:30 of this game, Carolina hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threes. Holy smokes. So Carolina scored in the final 2:39. Carolina scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 19 points in the final 2:40. That's crazy. So you had a Derek Dixon 3, a Derek Dixon 3, a Henry Vasar 3, a Henry Vasar 3, and a Derek Dixon 3. So that was all Derek and Henry. My goodness. With the Seth Trimble layup mixed in. Remember, Jaren Stevenson and Derek Dixon like collided, and it was almost one of those plays like in football where you have a dude run over to the sideline and start barking like a dog. So everybody looks at him and then somebody can make a play. It was like Seth's like, oh no, that stinks. Layup, right? Like, and so good for Seth for just staying locked in to what needed to happen there. That was really great from him. But again, too little, too late from Carolina. They were not locked in early enough. They weren't tough early enough. They didn't do the things necessary to run good enough offense or defense to get what they needed. And so again, you can build on what just happened at the end of this game. But boy, the bigger takeaway has to be the complete no-show. What did I say? Final 240. So the 37-20 before that. And sure, I know Carolina got out of the gate and had a lead, but Clemson just systematically worked their way back, took the lead, and Carolina was never able to get fully back in it. In totality, Clemson led 31-01, Carolina led 7-44. And so it's just like, look, all the props to Clemson. They came out. They were the aggressors. They were the tougher team. They, we're talking on the broadcast. Coach Brownell was very upset with their lack of defensive fortitude early in the game. But he got them locked in, and then they locked in and didn't let up until Carolina was just able to start knocking down some threes late. And I mean, so you got to give the props to Clemson, who just spread out like a whole bunch of, there was not one dude. They had 6 guys in double figures, led by Nick Davidson's 17 points, 4 of 4 from 3. I mean, that's the second straight time playing Clemson where you've just let a big dude go off. It was Welling, the guy that was missing with, which, by the way, let's stop and say, man, hate that for Welling. Get well soon. There's too many injuries in college basketball this year. It's insanity. But, Carolina keeps letting Clemson big guys just rain threes. And so there's that. Now, again, I do want to ask the question, can you build on what happened? Because that is a legitimate thing too. Again, while the bigger takeaway is the majority of the game, you do have to consider, what can you learn about what happened at the end? Carolina played with better urgency. Carolina played with a sense of finality of, oh my, we're done in this tournament if we don't do something here. And so they did something, but again, too little, too late. And now, because of that, you're in a situation where A, you don't get another crack at Duke. B, you didn't get this extra quad 1 win. C, now Seth Trimble might have 1 game left in his collegiate career, depending on if you can win or not next Thursday or Friday, whenever it is Carolina plays their first round game. And it's tough because what Carolina needed to do and to be in this game was to come out after getting embarrassed at Duke, embarrassed at Cameron on Saturday night. And Molly McGrath even said it on the broadcast. I talked to Henry Vasar before the game. He said, they were a revenge-minded team. They wanted to get that. Well, they sure didn't play like it. Like, if you're a revenge-minded team, man, go out and do absolute work. But now you have that Duke performance and this performance back-to-back. And if I'm the selection committee, I know what your entire resume is, but I'm looking at these 2 recent games. I'm like, boy, I thought maybe they had something figured out without Caleb Wilson, but it appears to me that they do not, because this Carolina offense was woeful for the vast majority of this game without Caleb Wilson.
College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, conference championship games. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match what you see on the slate. Then you apply that profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style now with more upside. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. Luka Doncic continued his hot streak last night with 51 points in a win over the Bulls. Doncic finished an assist away from a triple-double, and the Kamenetsky brothers give Luka his flowers on Locked On Lakers.
Lots to talk about following the Lakers win over Chicago, cruise to a relatively easy 142-130, the final score there. LeBron James back in the lineup. We'll talk about his play, Andy, and how he kind of slotted in with his return to the big three is something JJ Redick spent a little time on. We'll get into DeAndre Ayton. We'll get into a lot of things, but I think we need to start, Andy, with 51 points and a near triple-double, one assist away for Luka Doncic.
Yeah, and by the way, because I've already seen one comment about this in our show, in the short that I did summarizing the game, I don't know what happened. I just had a brain cramp. I said that Luka was 1 rebound, 1 assist shy. He was, in fact, just 1 assist shy, not trying to take anything away from Luka. I even acknowledged the 3 steals and a block, and then he only had 1 turnover. Honest mistake, but just off the bat, because I know our Slovenian friends, Zdravos, to all of you, y'all keep track. It was an honest mistake. Apology. Luka had a really, really good game. I want to make sure everyone knows I acknowledge it all.
It was statistically impressive in every way. It was hyper efficient, 17 of 31 from the floor, 9 of 14 from the 3-point range, made it to the line 9 times, made 8 of those. He had 10 rebounds. He had 9 assists. He only had 1 turnover.
Yes.
Lakers.
Yes, overall, I said that in the short. That was the part I got right.
Lakers took very good care of the ball. Only 9 turnovers as a team. Luka had 3 steals. He was a plus 15 on the night, Andy. This was as complete an offensive game as he has played since putting on the Lakers uniform about halfway through last year. And when he is doing this kind of stuff, there's really not much opposing defenses can do about it.
Speaking of the scoring that he's been doing since he put on a Lakers uniform, excuse me, a couple stats from the Lakers with one of these zillion threes he hit tonight. He passed Austin Reeves for the most amount of threes in a single season, putting him second on the list with 201 now. I don't know if that's the complete. This is when the Lakers put it out. He is behind D'Angelo Russell, the 23-24 season. D'Lo has 226 threes in that season, the most in any single season for Lakers franchise history. At this point, it feels like Luka is going to pass that running away. Also, per the Lakers, with his 40th 40-point night of his career, this was the 13th as a Laker. He is already 9th in franchise history. He's been with this franchise for basically a year and change. Some of that year, by the way, I call it the off season. Yep. He's not even playing games during that year, and he is already 9th in franchise history for 40-point games. Yowza.
If you look at Luka, over 7 now March games, 6 of which are Lakers victories, 49% from the floor, 37% from 3. He's averaging 9 rebounds, over 7 assists. He's averaging nearly a block a game. He's averaging 2 steals a game. Luka is averaging 32 points a game. You put all that together, Andy, and you get a guy, and it's funny, like he is, I think, kind of dropped out of the MVP conversation. You just don't hear people talking about him much. I don't think that's necessarily fair given the numbers he's putting up. And
I think it was indicative. To be honest, Luka spent most of this season pretty high in it. The period where he was dropping out, I think, had more to do with the overall Lakers malaise.
Right. And that's where I was going with it. Yeah. The malaise, for all the malaise, the Lakers will wake up Friday morning and, head into potential. I don't even look at the schedule, but, probably head into Saturday's game at home against Denver as the 3 seed in the West. Like, for all the malaise, like, he is right. He has the Lakers right there to be a top 4 seed. So not all malaises are created equal, Andy. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor, caffeinated kick and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Luka had some company in terms of prodigious productivity. Basically, if you were a Lakers starter in this game, you had you did something productive. Right behind Luka, though, was Austin Reeves, who continues the little heater that he's on right now. He finishes with a very efficient 30 points on 13 of 20 from the floor, 7 assists, and like Luka, pretty good, taking pretty good care of the ball.
Yeah, across the board, the starters. They scored 137 of the 142 points. I believe is the highest total for a starting 5 in about 20 years. On one hand, awesome for them. On the other hand, you would prefer, broadly speaking, a little more balance than
more than
combined 5 points. 5 points on 2 of 12 shooting from Jake LaRavia, Luke Kennard, Drew Timme, and Jared Vanderbilt. But it was against the Bulls, and the starting 5 were all very prolific. I'm sure we'll talk about him in the course of the show. DeAndre Ayton was fantastic.
Really was.
Particularly in the first half. His activity was off the chart. He finished with 23 points, 10 rebounds, 6 on the offensive glass. In the first half, he created so many second chance opportunities. There were a few offensive rebounds that he was like flying into the action. It's now a few games in a row where we've seen this level of activity and just whirling dervish from DeAndre Ayton that everybody wants to see. JJ spoke afterwards about.
Did you just use the expression whirling dervish?
Yes, I did. I did use the expression whirling dervish.
Jumping in the Wayback Machine tonight.
Absolutely, man. Whirling DeAndre, man. I don't care.
Are there any dervishes that didn't whirl? It seems like
I don't know. I'm not taking us down this route.
I'm just saying the dervishes are always whirling. I'm curious about that.
DeAndre Ayton, JJ said his motor afterwards was excellent. I'm not doing this.
Can't sucker me into it.
No.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into it. It's just like, because those two guys really were the catalysts there, and obviously the Lakers trying to get Ayton involved, I think early, but those two things feed on each other. When Ayton is more active, I think the ball tends to find him. But the flip side is, the ball has to find him. And so,
sometimes the ball was finding him because it was clanging off the rim.
Right. But, but he's been putting himself in really good position to finish on screen and rolls. He's been, he was moving and reading well. It looks a lot like it did earlier in the season. When Ayton was at his best, his timing on that kind of stuff was really good. Tonight, Thursday night, against the Bulls, he played 37 minutes because no Jackson Hayes, no Maxi Kleber, both of those guys on the sideline.
No Marcus Smart as well.
Right.
We'll talk about Marcus also too in this game because I feel like his absence was, and also in a lot of ways, his value to this team was really demonstrated in this game.
Yeah,
I am concerned officially about Jackson Hayes' back because he was listed as probable on Wednesday and then went from probable to out, and they're getting imaging on his back. That's not good.
Nope. Even for the youngsters, lower back problems are not nothing to trifle with. So it was really important that Ayton gave them good minutes because he was really, for all intents and purposes, the only center available. No disrespect to Drew Timme. And so, this was like the Minnesota game where they needed good minutes from him to counter the size of Rudy Gobert, like the Knicks game where they needed that energy against Karl Anthony Towns. The Lakers asked of DeAndre Ayton to go out there and do both the little things, in this case, some of the bigger things too. I'm sure he appreciates the opportunity to score, but really brought the energy.
College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, conference championship games. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match what you see on the slate. Then you apply that profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style now with more upside. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. The Commanders added a second name to the running back room in former Buccaneer Rachaad White. David Harrison looks at how he'll fit in alongside Bill Krosky-Merritt on Locked On Commanders.
The Washington Commanders have agreed to terms on a one-year deal with new, soon-to-be new Washington Commanders running back Rachaad White. That information is confirmed by sources to me. And with Rachaad White joining the Washington Commanders, now Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt no longer is alone in the running back room. He's no longer the Will Smith standing in the middle of an empty living room. He's got another person in the room, and he's got a running mates. Now, is Rachaad White going to be RB1? Is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt going to be RB1? Is Jeremiah Love going to be RB1? The answer is maybe. All three of those possibilities are certainly on the table. The only thing I can tell you with absolute certainty is that Rachaad White is going to come here, be a part of a rotation of backs. I don't think the plan has ever been or ever will be, at least not in this season, for the Washington Commanders to operate off of a primary back, and then you have a couple of guys who maybe come in every once in a while. The days of bell cow running backs are kind of gone. Rachaad White and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I think where they differ is the level of explosiveness, which is really kind of something special because Rachaad White is a very, very athletic running back, has a lot of explosive ability in his own, but I do think Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt a little shiftier, a little bit more agile, maybe a little bit more straight line burst when he hits the hole. Again, that's not to say that Rachaad White doesn't have any, because he's got plenty. But I think what you're really looking for Rachaad White to come in and do is be that third down back that the Washington Commanders are really missing from an explosive standpoint. Last year, I think Jeremy McNichols certainly was kind of the best that they had in that role. But Rachaad White is absolutely a step up. If you look at Jeremy McNichols at that level, Rachaad White is definitely a step up there. On our depth chart, where we pencil him in, which we'll get to in here in a minute, he is going to be listed ahead of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. But again, it's very fluid in who actually starts and who doesn't actually start. At the end of the day, it's about touch distribution, it's about reps and all those types of things. And who starts on the field is really kind of irrelevant to the grand scheme of things. So please do not get too wrapped up around where these guys are labeled in their pecking order, especially at these positions that are going to be incredibly fluid. A lot more of those on defense, but on offense as well, a lot of fluid ability. So it doesn't necessarily matter where a guy is listed on the list as far as I'm concerned. Now, what Rachaad White brings in, 89.1% catch rate, 205 career receptions, was one of the best, or was arguably the best receiving running back in the NFL last year in a lot of different metrics. And I think he's going to become the primary third down back, 2-minute drill back. If you're trying to get down the field, try to get a score before halftime and do all those things, I think Rachaad White kind of becomes your primary guy, where Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, at least as of right now, kind of handles your early down work. I kind of look at like the Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization. It's not really a David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs type of relationship, because those are two different types of backs than Rachaad White and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. But again, they're going to play off of each other. They're going to accentuate each other, things like that. But obviously the Washington Commanders are not necessarily done, because you only got two backs on the roster. You definitely need at least three. And for the 90-man roster, you really want at least four, maybe even five as you get out there. Now, Jaden, what he just got here is not only just a friend from Arizona State. I know that's going to be a lot of the pull in this, and I mean, my title has it, my thumbnail has it, the main part of the conversation that we started this with has it, but this is much more than a friendship. This isn't just Jaden getting his buddy from Arizona State to come join him in the National Football League. It's going to give Jaden Daniels an outlet out of the backfield that, one, he didn't really have very often during his last 2 years with the Washington Commanders. Austin Eckler was kind of that guy, but also we didn't really see Jaden utilize it as much. And I think that's kind of the big thing. Coming out of year one, I was asked quite a bit by people, whether it be All Access Every Dare Club members, insiders, or whether it be on the radio, like, where does Jaden need to take that next step? Because he was so good in his rookie season that people were like, well, is he just perfect as is? Of course, he's not perfect as a first year or second year, even a third year, obviously, quarterback. And one of the things I noticed is that when he did check it down, quote unquote, to a receiver or to a running back like Austin Eckler, it really still looked to me like it was designed. Like, it was kind of like, hey, on this play, we're coming out. You're going to look deep, push the defense back, get them to kind of open up the shell a little bit. Then you're going to dump it off to this guy, and he's going to get some yards after catch. And it wasn't so much a true check down in that Jaden is going through his progressions, not finding an open receiver, saying, okay, let me come down to this guy because I know he's there and available. Get the yards we can get, and let's move forward. And I think that's something that David Blau is going to work on with Jaden, and part of the progression of Jaden Daniels as an NFL quarterback. Rashad White is absolutely going to help with that ability. So the college connection is going to accelerate the installation. It's going to accelerate the rapport in the locker room. All those things is only going to help. Having friends around you while you're trying to do hard things obviously helps. Now let's look at the current depth chart situation. So we got a little bit more orange, right? I said, like, for my tracking purposes, when I update the depth chart, the white names are names that are repeating, or the returning, not repeating, returning. The orange names are free agents. They got the futures contracts guys. Draft picks are obviously going to come. Then undrafted free agents will come after that. And we got a couple of orange names now. You got Rashad White coming in as a running back. He is expected to sign his contract tomorrow. Chig Okonkwo, tight end, signed his contract on Thursday, so he's officially locked in. I think you still have a need, potentially interior offensive line. We'll see what happens with the whole Chris Paul situation. That hasn't been resolved yet. I think wide receiver 2, obviously, is still a situation as of the time that we went to prepare this episode, I should say about 6 p.m. Eastern time. Brandon Ayuk still not been released by the San Francisco 49ers. If you're an everydayer, you might remember I did an episode not that long ago about why the 49ers may not release Brandon Ayuk in a timely matter. So I'm not saying that's what we're dealing with, but we are now about 24 hours, a little over 24 hours into the new league year, and the 49ers have decided that they're not going to pull the trigger on that move just yet. So for the Washington Commanders, don't sit on your hands. If you're Adam Peters, go out there. He tried to get Alec Pierce, try to get Romeo Doubs. There's guys like Darnell Mooney. Truthfully, Darnell Mooney is my top guy. Like, that's who I would, if I could tell Adam Peters, hey, this is who you're going to go get, it would be Darnell Mooney. But you also have Juwan Jennings out there from the San Francisco 49ers. And you have other guy, Calvin Austin III, for example. Debo is still out there. I know a lot of you want Debo back, things like that. So that needs to be addressed, but I think you're looking pretty good at the running back position with the 2 guys you got. Certainly, wouldn't hurt to go get a third guy. I don't know that Jeremy McNichols comes back now, but depends on the market too. Like, if he's not getting, any bites or anything like that, he is an Anthony Lynn guy. So maybe they bring him on to the 90-man roster, say, listen, let's run you through training camp. Let's maybe feature you in preseason. Who knows? Maybe we can get you to burst out in preseason. A team comes up with a need. We can get like a 6th-round pick or a 7th-round pick off them for you, stuff like that. We're not necessarily looking at him as a true long-term part of the roster, but let's give the dude some work. Let's give him some burn, and let's see if we can't get him some interest. On the defensive side of the ball, obviously, again, the Washington Commanders, much more active. No new moves on Thursday at the time that we shut down to prepare this episode, but we did hear from Tim Settle, and we did hear from cornerback Amik Robertson, so we'll talk about those guys, but we still have to hear from Nick Cross, Leo Chenal, Charles Menhue, Kayvon Chason, Odafe, Owe, let me correct myself there, and we'll hear from them, in the next 24 or 48 hours, early next week, whenever it comes around. Truthfully, I think that's a pretty good situation. The linebacker position, the quarterback of the defense, I don't think it's going to be Leo Chenal. We'll see. We'll get the chance to ask him what they've told him his role will be. I think you could, obviously, the cornerback position is something that's like, we may not see the plan. Maybe they see the plan. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information out there. The Watchmakers were really going after a perimeter type corner, like a 6'2" long press man corner. Seems like they really only went after the smaller slot corner type in Amik Robertson. So that might just be kind of the way they're going to go, but we'll see what happens, and we'll see how the how that impacts the draft.
College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, conference championship games. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match what you see on the slate. Then you apply that profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style now with more upside. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. The 49ers got Dre Greenlaw back on the roster this week, but also lost Bryce Huff after his surprise retirement. Locked On 49ers sorts through the moves.
Croc, I think the Greenlaw story you could probably see coming, and it shouldn't have been too shocking, but the Bryce Huff story and his retirement is a little bit more on the shocking side. Let's start with the good news of, and I think it's good news for most 49ers fans, is that Dre Greenlaw is back. He has been released from the Denver Broncos after just one short season there and has now signed a 1-year, $7.5 million contract with the San Francisco 49ers to come back for at least one more run and really kind of add some more juice back to the 49ers linebacker room and some competition? Or is he just the straight up starter no matter what over the last year's third round pick in Nick Martin that we still don't know a lot about, and the guy who started every game last year in D Winters?
You know what? It was exciting to hear that Dre Greenlaw is back, and it's something that I don't think we mentioned at all on the podcast. But this morning I was talking with one of my buddies, and we were talking about roster building, and I was like, if the 49ers are smart, they'll bring back Dre Greenlaw. And I was like, a lot of people's issues is they're going to think back to his time with the Broncos. 49er fans are, once you leave and if you do what he did, which was, you had Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They tried to get you back and they turned it down. The fan base will turn on you super quick. And with this, again, I hadn't thought about it, but I was like, they should bring him back, because at the very least, it brings you stability to a position that we've talked about in the offseason where you don't have that. Dre Greenlaw, D Winters. I love the thought of D Winters. I think his trajectory is heading in the right direction. Is he a bona fide every down starter that you ideally want next to Fred Warner? I don't know. And then you look at some of the other guys. Nick Martin, right? Just had the concussions, was barely out there, very limited reps, even when he did play. So there are guys that have potential, but who is the guy? And I think for the 49ers, I don't think they're far. Everybody's talking about the Super Bowl window and whatnot. Get somebody that can play and play right now and play some good football. And the issue with Greenlaw, like a lot of other pieces on the 49ers, you got to stay on the field. You got to stay healthy. That was his issue the last year. He was with the 49ers, issues with the Denver Broncos as well. But if he's on the field and he's on the field next to another guy coming back from injury, but Fred Warner, the 49ers are good. And you can kind of go back to D. Winter's rookie year where we barely saw it. We might have only saw it for one game where I think against the Rams, where you had Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, and D. Winters on the field at the same time. That almost looked like the recipe for success for the 49ers. So I'm curious to see what three linebacker groupings they have. I know we didn't talk about the Gafford signing that the 49ers have, but this definitely puts that on the back burner. And I'm really loving the thought of just Dre Greenlaw being back. Just stay healthy.
Yeah, and suddenly it's a pretty full linebacker room. If fans were looking for linebacker in the draft, I think it was going to be a little bit more of a mid-round pick anyway. They could probably still spend one of those fourth-round picks on a linebacker if they like him. It is a one-year deal with Dre Greenlaw, and clearly they're not sold on D. Winters or Nick Martin yet. And by the way, I mean, how many times do we have to say a guy coming back off of injury? We know Dre Greenlaw's injury history. Fred Warner coming back from injury. His backup, Tatum Bethune as well. Nick Martin, last year's third rounder, had the concussion issues last year. You also have Garrett Wallow, who was brought back. Jalen Graham is still around as well. So
Wallow, that might be. I think
Wallow. Yeah. Wallow was brought back. Gifford not brought back. at least not yet. And, Wallow looked okay in when he was forced into duty there late in the season after being a midseason pickup. So, and he's deep on the depth chart right now, right? And so Greenlaw, Fred Warner, assumed starters there. Then you got D. Winters battling with Nick Martin probably once again. You got Tatum Bethune, Garrett Wallow, Jalen Graham, some varied skill sets there, but a pretty full linebacker room, I think, at this point. So I don't know if the 49ers fans should expect much more to be done there. Kind of a clean finish to this thing. And then you hope that maybe after one more year of Dre Greenlaw, maybe Nick Martin's the one that says, oh, yeah, that's right. You know what? I can be the next Dre Greenlaw, because there's one thing he can do is go run and hit. And we saw that in very limited action last year. Maybe D. Winters really comes into his own. And so I think that linebacker group pretty well set going into the year. And I thought there would be one veteran addition. I thought it might have been just bringing Eric Kendricks back, but it turned out bringing Dre Greenlaw back to the San Francisco 49ers. And obviously the number 57 is fun to watch out there. So I'm excited to see him next to Fred Warner, potentially at least starting the season, both healthy for the 49ers. That should be a little bit of fun.
No, definitely. Again, something else we spoke on the last episode, the 49ers are positioning themselves to essentially kind of take best player available. This is a 1-year contract. D. Winters also 1 year left on his contract.
His rookie deal, yeah.
It's kind of contract year for him. So potentially after this season, you may lose D. Winters and Dre Greenlaw. And now maybe Nick Martin takes this big jump, and this kind of takes the pressure off of him to kind of develop at his pace and maybe get some spot duty. But also, if you were to draft a linebacker at some point in the draft, well, you only have these other two guys in the way for one season. You get to bring the rookie along the way that you want. So the 49ers, again, at multiple positions, not just the linebacker position, they are positioning themselves to take best player available. Well, I say that, and then I know next we're talking about somebody who retired.
Right.
So aside from that, that was something that I did not foresee, and I definitely have some questions about that. But again, best player available. The 49ers are really positioning themselves to be able to do that.
Bryce Huff, he is retiring from the NFL. Really interesting development here for the 49ers in Bryce Huff, who the 49ers are going to save $14 million now against the salary cap because of this retirement. He was a player because of that money that we thought might have been on the chopping block and potentially released. And I wonder if maybe the 49ers kind of informed him or asked him to take a pay cut or, talk to him about being released. And he said, my heart's not in anyway, so I'm just going to retire. I wonder if that was part of the equation as well. And we already thought,
how much money on this contract was guaranteed, or did he have any guarantees at all?
No more guarantees, but there was bonus structure, void year stuff that was convoluted for the salary cap. And I think his retirement makes that all cleaner, and it just kind of all goes away. That's the way I understand it. So if you are a cap guru, let me know if I got that part of it wrong. But it's better for the 49ers for him to retire than for him to have gotten cut, from what I understand.
That's all for today's Big 6 and 60. If you follow basketball, football, or college sports, the Big 3 and 30 has a half hour on the biggest news in the NFL, the NBA, and on campus, going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 and 30 NBA, the Big 3 and 30 NFL, or the Big 3 and 30 college, wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 6 in 60.